soldiers than you did.
Y'all, back with another paid review, and this time we are reviewing CHOPSUEY's latest chapter, Monday's forecast for Harie Kanashi. Hope I said that wrong. Now, for those who remember, I started reviewing this day one with chapter one, and it keeps improving every single chapter. So shout outs to CHOPSUEY, because this takes dedication. The dude actually implements the things I advise on and say, well, bro, there was just a lack of contrast here. There was too much grayscale here. And from chapter 1 to 2, he took all of that advice and totally fixed everything. But for some reason, for chapter 3, we went back to the heavy-duty grayscale. I don't know what happened there, because that destroys the mood. It destroys the contrast, but you're going to see that. But ultimately, from a story that felt like it was kind of all over the place, when you read chapter 1, it's about this girl from a different planet who's an alien, and the alien designs look frightening and horrible, unappealing and everything. She manages to escape her home planet, goes to Earth to shapeshift as a human girl, and she encounters this family, this young family, struggling people in their early 20s and so on, and she becomes friends with them and so on. And then suddenly, from chapter 2 onwards, it's no longer about anything that's got to do with her alien planet. It's got to do with wacky adventures that is happening on Earth and people's everyday problems. So she's finally getting to live like your average human being. She's not dealing with the chaotic responsibilities of her alien planet. So in a way, at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about this new direction, but you know what? It works. It works. It's cool. It's a fun read. So much so that this manga, I will call it a manga now, because in the beginning the art style was all over the place, and I didn't know what to call it, but now I can call it that. Yeah, this is definitely a manga inspired product. But ultimately, the direction it's taken now, I actually like it. It's a story that doesn't take itself so seriously, which is why it's so forgivable. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's honestly, it knows what it is, and it knows who it's selling to. It's selling to, well, people who just want a quick read. Is it disposable? Because I've said before that I don't like disposable works. I don't like disposable comics. I don't like disposable products. If I'm going to read something, if I'm going to spend money on something, it's got to be something that I'm going to keep on the shelf. So I will say that this one isn't disposable. It's just a fun ride. It's got this adventure, episodic adventure type structure like the old cartoon. It just reminds me of Totally Spies. I'm sure you guys know that Canadian cartoon, Totally Spies, where each episode the girls just go on a new crazy adventure, spying and solving cases and stuff like that. But in the case of this story, each episode, each chapter is a new problem with the other cast dealing with real world stuff, and she's trying to fit in the human chaos, but she's so positive about everything while the other humans are really struggling with their situations. So it's a fun read. It's something that you can go back to your shelf when you're bored and pick it up again. Are there any real inspiring, hopeful lessons that can be taken away from this? So far, no. No, I would say this is a slice of life, adventure comedy, and again, it's forgivable because it knows what it is and who it's selling to, and it doesn't take itself seriously. So let's get into it then. So this is the cover. Cool cover, and some more cover interiors. The art really has improved a great deal. Each chapter it improves. So we start off with this page here, and immediately I was like, what's up with the grayscale? Then I started reading the dialogue and realized that, a character is most likely playing a video game or watching TV, and that's exactly it. Some characters are watching this TV show on the TV. But then when we jump to this page, I was like, CHOPSUEY, what the heck is going on? Because chapter 2, unless this is an accident, you sent me the wrong file. This is that it's supposed to be in color, because I don't know why everything is in grayscale. If everything was in color, how you colored in chapter 2, things would be fine. But this is just off, bro. Ruins the mood, ruins the contrast. Everything just all drowned out in the sea of gray. So yeah, that really messed up my immersion experience. And you know, I always talk about the importance of immersion. Please, y'all, please, like I can't keep saying the same thing 10,000 times. Do not mess up the immersion for me. Like really, don't do it. So we open up here with the main, I forgot her name. The main character being the alien girl. She's now in her human form. She seems to be having a very happy life, living life as a human being. She's now preparing breakfast for everybody in the house. And she's all cute and fluffy and all. And she heads over to wake up the older brother, whose name is QG. And she jumps on him to wake him up. And he scolds her that, hey, don't wake me up like that. I don't like it. And she says, well, I don't want you to be late. And he realizes that he's late. Then he puts on his clothes and begins to be on his journey. Here it looks kind of weird. I was like, okay, bro, I don't know if you were trying to make a funny pose here, but this all kinds of yanked. I don't know what's going on there. I will say there's also a great improvement in the panel flow, the panel game in general, but one problem still persists. Bro is not adhering to the standard. And it's like, well, here we go about the standard again. What I mean by that is the format. You're not using the correct paper format, are you? I can tell you're not, because your dialogue, right, the dialogue box, which would be around from here, right, to there, you are not putting your dialogue within the dialogue box. You're not using the template that shows you where all your text should be confined in. And so this is not a print ready product. And it not being a print ready product, people can read this and say it reminds me of manga, but it doesn't feel like manga. Manga has a specific format that it always sticks to. You're not sticking to the format. That's why it can look like it, but it doesn't feel like it. Instead, it starts feeling like a web comic. So at the end of the day, the type of audience that CHOPSUEY is selling to is to people who like fun reads, right? But at the end of the day, those who are experienced readers of manga, they would look at this and like, well, I don't feel like it's a manga. Something's off. I just can't put my finger on it. It's because you're not using the correct format. You see? So that's something to remember for chapter 4. So the brother wakes up, runs off, takes his breakfast, and off he goes. And then we go to the next page. And so we get a little bit of focus on Ryuji this time. And he says, ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a hero and help people, just like the characters in the anime I watch. Instead, I worked at the only McBurger in town as assistant manager. I guess I'm pretty great at it, because at work, they call me the one-man army. The more I think about it, the cooler it sounds. My name is QG, and this is my story. Now, there are some life lessons. I remember in chapter 2, there was one thing there's always one thing that you can chew on in each chapter, because in chapter 1, despite the many problems in there, the whole thing of feeling trapped and burdened by the responsibilities of your family and so on, that it's not something you want. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, right? Or at least a few people. In chapter 2, I forgot the main theme, but it looks like each chapter has a theme. And in this chapter, the theme is, well, Kyuji here always wanted to be a hero and wanted to help people. But this is real life. And the circumstance in which he's allowed to help people is being assistant manager at the burger joint. And that's horrible, that sucks, but it's life. And he's telling himself, accepting the circumstance that, well, I am helping more people become unhealthy at least, you know? Hey, I go to the burger joint. Not always though. I don't leave no crumbs behind. I leave some crumbs behind, unlike somebody we know. So there's a theme, and the theme here, I like it. It's, hey, I want it to be this, but I can't. So the bare minimum is to be that because it's the only thing available. So that's pretty cool. So we got some other cover stuff there, and another cover here. And then we jump to this new character, it seems, over here, and she's begging the landlord to allow her to have a third tenant in which they can share the apartment with. And this is also pretty relatable with all the rent situation going on right now, you know. So in a way, I should have brought up the MANAA ingredients. This is a fun read, and it definitely has relatability, real world relatability. So it's got 1 out of the 4 ingredients, that's for sure. Familiarity, in fact, it does also, because I did say it reminds me of Totally Spies. So it definitely does have 2 out of the 4 ingredients. The one for hopeful and inspiring, as of yet, not at all. But it's familiar and it's relatable. That's why it's easy to read and easy to keep coming back to, right? So she's begging for the third tenant, and I think the third tenant is the alien girl, actually. But the landlord was saying, no, I already cut the price for you guys and so on. And she's begging, please, I'll do anything. And then the landlord said, fine, I want you to check up on someone for me, which is, I think it's her nephew, the landlord's nephew, not quite sure. And that's the deal, that the alien can stay so long as you guys do a weekly check on my nephew. So yeah, it was definitely about the alien girl staying in there and so on. So cool. So now we jump back to Kyuji and his life and how crazy things are. We see the crazy manager. Everybody's got a crazy manager. Man, my manager's not crazy, but it's just something weird sometimes, you know. But anyway, so it's all kinds of chaos up in there at McDonald's. People yelling, do this, do that, and Kyuji is assistant manager, and he's pretty much handling everything, listening to people's praises and complaints and so on. He says, always the people, well, some people say, always the people pleaser, never uncompromising. He's been at it for years, and he's starting to lose it, saying, why? You can do it, Kyuji. Are they being fair to you, Kyuji? Why me? And he's totally losing his mind, because now he's starting to feel overwhelmed. And this definitely happens because everybody got to take a break. And constantly working in the food industry in particular, there are no breaks, bro. there are no grays. Another cool little cover. And then we jump back to the other characters. And I really like this scene here. This little, they're looking through the camera door, or the camera, no, it's not even a camera. The keyhole, what do you call that thing that's on the door to see who's on the other side? Yeah, this got some fish eye lens type of perspective, so I like it. Really nice. So one asks, so don't you have the key? Or no, use the key. And then she says, if he's not home, it feels kind of wrong. Come on, she gave us the key for a reason. And then she decides to open the door. It's dark. And they're calling out Kyuji-san. They're calling out to Kyuji-san. See, this is the part where I did get confused, though. I did get confused because I was like, is Kyuji-san, isn't he the older brother that lives with them? So if that's the case, why are they calling out to him because he lives with them? Because I thought the person whom they are supposed to be checking up on is the landlord's nephew. So I really got lost here. I'm not sure anymore as to like who exactly is being checked up on, because Kyuji is the one that lives with these girls. If we actually go back and see, it's the same character. This is Kyuji, isn't it? Because this sure as heck looks like him. This guy and this guy, they look the same. If I'm wrong, then I'm sorry, bro. It's because the characters look the same. That's the issue. It's because they look the same. Same hair. Maybe if one had black hair, the other had the brown hair, it would have been better, but they honestly look the same. They're even wearing the same outfit. You see? So I'm totally confused as to why is this the case. But anyway, let's go back. So they're calling out to him. Sorry, we were sent to see if you were alright. What's that smell? Is that you? And they say, found the lights, they switch it on, it's a complete mess. And she notices something under the couch and totally freaks out and runs out the apartment. Okay, I've had enough of this. He's probably not home. How can he be home? He's at the job. See, I'm confused here. Totally confused here. So as they running out, they see the social worker, and she says, excuse me, were you three just in to see Kyuji? Are you his friends? No, we're just tenants. We were asked by the landowner to check on him, but he wasn't there. And you must be his social worker. I've been working with Kyuji for many years. I've come to see him as well, as he hasn't been following up on his scheduled appointments or renewing his prescriptions. We've rescheduled over 4 times now and are really worried. So despite the confusion and everything, you can still read it. You can still easily put things together, whether it's the same Kyuji or not. You still understand the bigger picture of what's going on. So it's not really much of a disastrous train smash. It's still pretty readable and it flows very well. And the dialogue's also really good, realistic, and yeah, just realistic and organic. So they asked the question here as to, so other than being a gross slob, what's the deal? And the social worker says, well, and right here, initially I thought it was a flashback, but I see now that it isn't. So this is QG at the job right now, and he's having a meltdown, and this co-worker of his comes along saying, please come out, QG, it's all right, the day is over. You know, you don't have to keep working as hard as you do. Don't you just want to, you know, and we see him totally spaced out, and then he comes back to his senses. The day is over, time to go home, but I gotta lock things up first. I will say there's an inconsistency of character designs here in terms of their faces. This QG from the get-go, since we saw him in this chapter when he woke up, he doesn't look like the same character. Look at his face here. Look at his face there. Look at his face prior. It does not look like this character here. Even the social worker, she doesn't really look like the same person as this woman here. Doesn't. Notice here that it looks like she's got lipstick, but here she doesn't, there she doesn't. And you can say, well, that's because she's a bit further away. You know, in some manga, there's emphasis on the lips if it's a close up. Well, to make sure that you don't confuse the audience, just stick to the design. If she's wearing lipstick, let her wear lipstick all the time, whether from far away or close, because this is confusing. And this is a close-up as well, but there is no lipstick. So there's a problem. Also, the forehead kind of jacked over there. It's an easy fix, but that's something to consider, something to remember. So QG then says, please don't worry about me, I'll be fine. I'm the one-man army. You should head on home, Tomoe-chan. So I can relate to this part where, you know, as dudes, you like pretending everything is fine, but you totally dying inside. You don't want to show yourself as a weakling. Definitely. I'm sorry, but I'm going to promote toxic masculinity right now. Rather die inside than show your weakness. You want to know why? You show that weakness, everybody going to be like, haha, you a sissy, I knew it, you're not a man, blah, blah, blah. They say be vulnerable. But then as soon as you are vulnerable, they kick you in the nuts. So rather die inside, bro. It's a lot better. You'll respect yourself more. Because as soon as you're vulnerable, kicked in the nuts, and then they call you a sissy for it. So his co-worker looks at him and smiles and says, have a good night. And he be looking at her like, oh yeah. So he says to himself, Tomoe is 19 years old. She's currently attending uni in hopes of becoming a nurse. She's our newest part-timer and has been with us for almost 3 months. She's always been so kind to me. It's almost like we have a connection. Now, you know what they say about nurses. I don't know about America, but in South Africa, never fall for a nurse. Never date a nurse, never marry a nurse. You want to know why? Because they are one of the biggest hussies ever. And it looks like even a nurse in training is a hussy. And you're going to see why I say that even in this manga, extrapolation from reality. So I don't know if CHOPSUEY came over to South Africa to analyze how nurses are here, but they are one of the biggest hussies you'll ever find. He then says, for her to care so much about my well-being, our destinies must be intertwined. And this part I kind of felt bad for the dudes. Like, oh, you innocent little boy. You think just because a girl is nice to you, it must mean that she kind of likes you. I remember having the same mentality in high school. You know, I always wondered, I think I've said this in the review before, but I remember in high school, all the black girls were always mean. Like, I just grew up knowing that girls are just mean anyway. But no, it was because all the black girls I knew were just mean and very awful. And then going to this one prestigious school where there's now black, white, and Indian and so on. Mostly the white girls were really nice people. And I didn't know that you do realize being a nice person, a kind person, is normal. And as a dude who didn't know better, I was like, oh, she must have a crush on me. Nah, it's just being kind. So I can definitely relate here and realize that, yeah, bro doesn't know real life. His heart is about to get squashed. And it gets squashed. So that's good. Actually, I recommend that dudes get their hearts squashed a lot sooner than later. You don't want to be a old man, then get your heart squashed. Nah, you just might grab a gun. Let it happen when you're young so you can get over it and be stronger. And then he says, Ichika will be mad if I'm late for dinner. I'll see you tomorrow. Poor guy. And so it's dinner time. And the alien girl has prepared dinner for everybody. All right, dig in, everyone. I made sure to get everyone's favorite and then some. Sorry I couldn't prepare some sort of feast tonight. And it's really cool how she's so positive, you know, like she is the positive character in the whole story while everybody else is totally like rotting away. So it's really, really awesome to see. There's a good balance. And so everybody starts eating. And she's like, Kyuji-kun, I'm a pretty good cook, right? And he totally doesn't care. He's going through the motions. And Roy here says, another bad day at work. Seems like almost every day now. Thanks for the meal. Come on, cheer up, Kyuji. Things will get better, I'm sure of it. You just gotta keep trying your best. See, Ichika being an alien, of course she's gonna have this fake positivity. Now, she's not faking it, she's just ignorant. Only ignorant people keep saying it'll get better by just keep doing your best. Nah, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. But this is a commentary, definitely, of normal social interactions of today. And I would say this family dynamic here, it's not toxic at all. Like, no one's actually breathing down Kyuji's neck in the household. He's just feeling overwhelmed and behind, and he feels he's not living his life authentically because he can't be a hero. Maybe he should have been a fireman. Like, in all honesty, he should have been a fireman. There, you're helping people at least, if there are fires. So it's cool to see. Because as somebody who's socially aware of what's happening in the world and the general psychology of people in this dispensation, there's a lot that I can take from this. But a brain-dead hunchback who just consumes and doesn't know what's happening outside of his refrigerator, well, he doesn't know anything and most likely cannot relate, right? So we see Roy. You see, Kyuji again does not look the same. He's got a different face here. It creates confusion. So she says, later, your closet, I'll be waiting. And then they go to the closet. And he's like, what in the world? And she says, now's a better time than any. I wanted to show you what I've been working on. And he says, well, I don't remember any of this. Then suddenly he sees this gun. And he says, this is for when you need it, when the time is right. My Excalibur. That's right, Mr. Hero. Our one army man. So I remember, I think Ryu is his sister. So how nice, trying to cheer him up by making him a toy gun and all that. Cool. But at the end of the day, it's not really realistic because he can't use this at work. If he does, he'll be fired. But it does show that, hey, look, she's just a little girl and she doesn't know what she's doing. She's just trying to help you feel better. At the end of the day, though, I'm sure Kyuji will be like, yeah, she tried, but she doesn't understand. She doesn't understand. No one understands what I'm actually feeling. They can try to bake me cookies and make me a toy gun, but that's actually not going to change the circumstance. And that's something that a lot of dudes don't realize, that at the end of the day, to change your circumstance, if even possible, you gotta do it yourself. Nobody's gonna do it for you. And then we jump back to McDonald's, and the manager is totally, screwing. Doesn't look like he's totally like screwing her, but it's censored. Basically, he's performing all sorts of sexual stuff on QG's crush, and looks like she enjoying it even. So that's terrible, and he sees it, and he loses his mind. So that's a nurse for you. She gonna get busted open by everybody, by the boss, by the patient, by the doctor, by the truck driver. Don't stay away from nurses. She tells you, "Oh, I'm a nurse," you move on immediately. Okay. So she says, and if you can, at least give me more weekends off for my classes and clinicals. I'll fill in more morning shifts on weekdays. Then the manager, despite getting what he wanted, well, I'll do what I can, but honestly, thank you for considering picking up more days. Staffing is tight, especially on weekends, but I always try to accommodate our student employees. Like, this ingenuous mother sucker. But this is reality. It's not just nurses who be doing this. They'd be doing it more often, but it's just reality. It's like poor QG. Bro was in love with this hussy, and she just got totally wrecked by the manager. Then he says, I'll try to ask everyone if they would be willing to move their shifts around, or maybe I'll ask QG. I can always depend on him. So they're exploiting QG because he's a nice guy. See, this is what happens when you're nice. This is what happens when you're just not a man. This is what totally happens. And I bet you if QG were to stand up for himself, they'll call him a misogynist. Oh, QG, who do you think you are? You think you're better than us? Like, bro, I've been doing everything, picking up the slack ever since. Like, give me a break. No, you have to give us a break, QG. Blah, 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 blah. So, then she says, thank you, Mr. Sujihara. I apologize if I sounded too forceful. Yada, yada, yada. And then she walks out, sees QG, and he has this weird smile. And I was kind of confused there because, like, wait, weren't you mad a second ago? And Tomoe is looking at him like, what? And then we jump back to what's happening at home. I will say that it would be helpful if you give us some establishing shots, bro, because I can tell here these two blocks serve as a transition to a different place, right? But we don't know the time of day per se. Just an establishing shot that, okay, we are now back at the apartment building. That would help. So we see the alien girl trying to wash the dishes. She really loves playing housemaid. So that's cool. And she says to herself, QG won't be happy that I broke another one, but a home should be well cared for. So I shan't give up. I'll clean everything. Always positive and so on. Then she daydreams of the whole squad, pretty much having a good time. And notice how QG doesn't look the same again over here. Now he's got somewhat black hair, and you can say, well, I was trying to put some contrast and so on. Nah, bro, the whole contrast is already ruined because everything's in grayscale. So absolutely not. Maybe we can go back to how things used to be. No more sad clouds, just QG and Rio and me. That's a nice daydream. Then we see Rio standing there and just staring at her. And somehow the whole house is a mess. I guess they're in QG's apartment. the one that's always dirty. And then she says, Ichika, it's time. Oh, okay. I've always wanted to see what QG's job is like. Maybe I can help him make breakfast for everyone. And that's it. That's the end of chapter 3. So all in all, because it keeps getting better, and CHOPSUEY, the author and artist, is refining whom he's actually trying to sell this to, and he's actually taking the advice. I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. Right? It's got the manga style. It's just got problems with inconsistencies for the faces. He definitely needs to remove all the grayscale and go back to full color or proper black and white with the proper use of contrast. There is good panel flow, but there is no submission to the actual format of manga production. The text boxes are, the dialogue, speech bubbles are everywhere, going outside where the text box should be. So all these things are easy to fix, honestly. So pretty much CHOPSUEY, go back to color, please, or stick to black and white. Make sure you use the manga page format, and fix your character consistencies for the faces. Fix that. And that's it. All in all, it's a good read. It's a fun read. It's familiar, it's relatable, and it's cool. It's cool. I actually do look forward to reading the next one. And it is better when it's censored, bro. Like, more people can get into it. You know, that's the nice thing with doing things that doesn't have like hentai stuff in it. More people can read it. Okay, so consider doing a censored version and a non-censored version if you really want to put all that booty and whatnot over there. But all in all, 7 out of 10. It's a nice read. Check out and follow CHOPSUEY social media. I'm gonna put it in the description box. If you want a paid review, that is going to be $40 per chapter. One chapter is 20, well, anything from 25 pages and lower. So yeah, if you want a paid review, you just DM me on my Instagram. Until next time.